2. Hey everyone, so welcome. I am Ron Farb. I am the president of the Chesapeake chapter, and welcome to our online intro to PCA National events. Appreciate you all coming. Just sort of the housekeeping, right? I've started the recording, so everyone knows we are recording. Please stay muted though. If you have a question, type it in the chat in between. Whoever is on here will answer it, but please just use the chat to answer, to ask questions. I've sort of have been thinking of doing this for a while. I guess when I first joined Chesapeake, I just didn't know what these national events were, and I hear people went to them, but I didn't know anything about them. So I thought this is a really good way to find out. We have the experts who have been to these things a bazillion times. I appreciate them joining us. I have Jim Hemmig. He is our PCA National Marketing Director and sort of pseudo membership chair. We got Manny. He was a past Chesapeake president and past PCA president. And we got Ellen Beck. So she does Boardwalk Reunion, she does the Crab Feast, and she is the Chesapeake driving instructor. And with that, I hand it over to Jim, and he will be our host for the evening.
Thanks, Ron. Sure, appreciate the introductions. So as Ron was saying, kind of tonight's topic is to talk about some of the PCA national events. So before we kind of get into what those are, just wanted to introduce, kind of like what Ron just did, introduce our host tonight. So Ellen, would you maybe just give a little bit about yourself and maybe some of the events you've been to?
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
Yes.
I've been a member of PCA since 1993 and been very active on the regional level and national level for a long time. And I've really dabbled in everything, driving on the track, and been a chief driving instructor and national instructor trainer and gimmick rally chair at the parade and autocross and really in tours and all the different activities. I've sampled them all and enjoyed all of them and made many great friends along the way. And so here I am supporting Chesapeake.
Cool. Thanks, Ellen. Hey, Manny, tell us about yourself.
I joined in 1989. I was only 23 back then. With my girlfriend at the time, who now is my wife, and a lot of people wouldn't know Roxanne. I've tried everything that PCA has to offer, everything from a Concord to club racing. The only thing I didn't really like and never did well in was TSD rallies, time speed distance rallies, but everything else I really enjoyed. Obviously, when I changed career and decided to come work for PCA, to me that was the ultimate, to be able to merge your hobby with your work life. So it's a fun job, and be it a volunteer or paid, who can complain about playing with Porsches all day?
Yes, I agree. So like Ellen and Manny, I've been in the club sometime, not nearly as long as those two. I joined in 2012. I'm the current Chesapeake Region webmaster, so I help update the website, keep that going. When we talk about these events, I think I've been to just about every event that's on the list. So, hopefully between the three of us, we can share some perspective about those events and try to provide a little bit of info. So what are these PCA national events? What are we talking about tonight? So I'm sure most of you on this call by now know that as a member of the Porsche Club of America, one of the best benefits that membership provides us all is these cool events and activities we get to participate in. Yes, you get the magazine. That's very cool. You get some discounts on parts and insurance if you want to take up those offers. But the best member benefit is really the events. So as you probably know at this point, there's lots of events going on in the club. So our region, the Chesapeake region, has a lot of variety of events. Just within our own region, there's social events, there's competitive events, there's quite a bit to do locally. And now each region has, something very similar. There's 147 regions in the Porsche Club of America, and each region, like the Chesapeake region, has a lot of activities. If you add all those up, and we've tried, we're, as a club, we're over 3,500 regional events each year. So you can be in Los Angeles enjoying an event, you could be in Florida, you could be here in Maryland. There's a lot going on. So most new members, when they get involved, they find out about stuff going on in their local region, just as I'm sure all of you have. The social events, going to the Guinness brewery coming up, tech sessions, the autocrosses that we do. It's a lot easier to find out about those events because you're in the region. A lot of us, when we first got into the club, and I know myself specifically, I knew all about the region stuff, but I didn't realize there was all these national events that take place. And that's what we want to share tonight. So we have over a dozen what we call national events in PCA every year. And each one has its own name, its own theme. And if you're not familiar with these, it can be a little bit like drinking from that, proverbial fire hose where you're trying to understand what's a Treffen, what's a parade, what's an unStock, what's all these different events, what is club racing, what is sim racing. So tonight we wanted to share just a little bit about each one of these different events, a little perspective from some of us that have been doing these for a while. And then we wanted to also provide some resources where you can find out more. And then at the end, I think, with Ron's permission, we got his email at the end where you can follow up to find out more. So really what we're trying to do with this, first and foremost, is just provide a little bit of info about these national events and hopefully create a little interest. And we hope that maybe you get to one sometime, in the future. So real quick, these resources, everything that's on these slides, you can find within the PCA.org website. So I'm going to scroll over for a second just to show you. This is PCA.org. If you go to the website and you hover over membership and you go down to activities, you'll see a page pop up that'll list all of those national events that we're going to talk about. Also, you'll see that under PCA.org, there's events. So under membership is activities. You can also click on events and you'll see all the events coming up. So one of them we're going to talk about is Werks Reunion, and it's actually right here on the webpage. And then if you haven't signed up for eBreak News, or if you don't get eBreak News is going to get mentioned quite a bit through this presentation. eBreak News is the official weekly email newsletter from the Porsche Club of America. It sends out every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. So in our region, you'll get it at 8 p.m. And it has a list of all the things going on in PCA and frequently talks about the national events. If you don't have the eBreak News come into your email box, on the homepage, PCA.org, you can scroll to the very bottom and you can put your email address in here and you can hit subscribe and it'll take you to a place where you can opt into eBreak News. So you'll see us talk about eBreak News as we go through here. So why don't we get started? So the first event is Parade. Take it away, Ellen.
Okay, thanks. So the Porsche Parade is basically the big daddy of events in PCA in that it's a week-long event and what some people might describe as sort of our annual convention. And so people can register for the week and then attend for the whole week or maybe just a few days, whatever suits their schedule. And it rotates around the country. For example, last year it was in the Midwest or middle of the country in Indiana, and this year it'll be in Pennsylvania, and next year it goes to Southern California. So one of the benefits for us this year is that it's in easy driving distance, 3 to 4 hours away from most people in our region. So if you're inspired to try it, this year would be a great year to sample the parade because you can you can actually attend and drive your Porsche. Some people will drive, they're dedicated. For example, I've been for, I think 24 years, I've gone to parades, not all sequentially, but since 1999, I've gone every year because for me, it's a week-long family vacation. I go with my husband, who's also in the Porsche world, and we have friends that we see, and plus it's a great way to see the country because I've experienced lots of things that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. Some of the events that you can participate in, I've kind of maybe grouping them, I guess, by category, in that we have competitive events like the autocross and the concours. At the concours, there's also a historic car display. There are two different kinds of rallies, the TSD, time speed distance rally, and also the gimmick rally, which of course is my event, and I would call that the fun event. And Manny would probably agree. And then of course there's the tech quiz for your tech knowledge. And then there are plenty of events that are you can have fun based on your interest level. For example, there's a golf outing, there's an art show for Porsche related art that participants have created. There's a 5K walk run. There are lots of different tours. For example, this year, some of the tours, one is going to Martin Guitars, another is going to Steamtown, which is a train, I guess it's a train museum, and the Crayola Factory and Yingling Brewery. So there's a variety of tours that all have scenic drives. And then there's car related fun like sim racing, which you'll hear more about tonight. The RC car competition. There are a lot of tech sessions, the Tech Academy, and PCNA usually has a reveal of a new car. So there are many Porsche related events that are not competitive. And also there's a great opportunity to volunteer. And volunteering is a great way to meet new people and also experience events. You might not want to participate in an event, but if you volunteer for a few hours, then you can see what it's like and experience it that way. And at the end of the week, there's a volunteer party, a lunch that's free for all volunteers with lots of giveaways, door prizes, tires, all of that. So it's really an amazing experience. And it's sort of an immersion into all things Porsche. And there's so many things to do that you hardly have time to sleep. And when you get home, you need a vacation from your vacation. But it's a wonderful thing to experience. So I highly recommend that if you have a little bit of time this year, the parade is the week of, I believe it begins June 10th, 9th, 12th, sorry. And it's as you say, it's a week. There's you can go to the PorscheParade.org and click around on the different events and learn more about it. So registration is open now, and there are somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 registrations at this point, and there's room for more. And then in April, you go back in to select on April 6th to select the different activities that you want to participate in. So
yeah, parade is a huge event, and if you haven't been, it can be a bit overwhelming. But as Ellen said, having one local can take a lot of the pressure off. So as Ellen said, so Porsche.
Okay, I just saw that there was a question about local activities. And yes, in fact, the Chesapeake people you can see there's a picture there of us all gathered together. And we definitely get together and have some very fun times. There might be a margarita machine involved in one of those fun times. But also there's a zone gathering for all of the regions from Zone 2, which we are in. And there are many opportunities to hang out with our friends in Chesapeake and neighboring regions, and of course people that you're going to meet from all over.
Yeah, and there's also there's a text thread that has been created for people going up there so they can connect with each other.
How do you find out about volunteering opportunities?
So
Okay, I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say that one of the, when you register in April, there's a section for volunteering, and then you can select, there'll be a whole host of options for days and times and activities that you can select from. And if you don't know on that particular day what you want to, you can revisit your registration file and select different things that you want to volunteer for. But I'll put in a plug for Thursday, Gimmick Rally volunteering. It's going to be super fun this year, and volunteering will be almost just as much fun as doing it. So just saying.
Yeah, very cool. And then, like, as I mentioned at the end, I'll have Ron's email address, so we can follow up, because obviously I think this presentation is going to generate a lot of questions. So what we're hoping to do is just get you excited, and then yes, you could definitely follow up and get whatever questions you have answered, and we can obviously help support you getting into some of these events.
So I'm done.
So next on the list, Werks Reunion.
All right, so Werks Reunion. This was a show that was created and back in 2014. We used to be part of in Monterey. There was a whole week-long event of cars. You just known as Car Week, and it's all different makes. And I'm sure if you watch any type of car show, they always go to Monterey in August. And we used to share the spotlight with the BMW club and the Mercedes club at this event. And as we got bigger and bigger, we realized that we could probably host our own events and not have to limit the amount of members that could show their cars off. Because this is really the only event that, unless you were invited to show your car, like at Pebble Beach or at the Quail, which is really rare, you really didn't get to show off your car at Monterey Week. So the Werks Reunion was pretty cool, because you could have an excuse to drive your Porsche down and show it off on a field that day. And that the idea really took off. And the first in 2014, we had a little over 500 Porsches. And I think we had to cap it off at almost 1,000, depending on where we were at, what location we were at. It did so well. After 3 years, we decided to add another one at Amelia Island. That's not a full car week for them, but it's about 4 days of car stuff. It's similar to Monterey, but a little bit more laid back. You have your auctions, your big concours on Sunday at Amelia Island. So it's a fun thing to do on the East Coast, and a lot more. It's much more affordable than Monterey is. Monterey can be very expensive because the hotels around there know everyone wants to go there, so they charge accordingly. Werks is it's open to any Porsche. Intentionally, we didn't make it that you had to be a PCA member, because we were trying to unite all the little clubs that exist to have them come out. And we always said, you may come to the event not a PCA member, but if Jim does his job, by the time you leave, you will be a PCA member. So, and I think that worked really well, because unlike Parade, when I came up with this idea, it was almost the anti-parade event, in the sense that we didn't even call it concourse. It's not even a concourse. It's just a judged event where they come and they judge the cars, but they're not looking for cleanliness with a Q-tip. This is more like what's the best car on that day, not the one that's most historically accurate or the ones that have been restored correctly. It's just what the judges think is the best looking cars of that day. And that also seemed to go over really well with entrants, because they could really enjoy the whole day and not worry about being stressed out. Like at Parade, you're going to see people prepping cars 4 or 5 days ahead of time of the concours, the garage. There's really serious ones. The not so serious, like myself, just like to park their cars in the field and socialize and have a good time. And that's what really Werks was created. You don't have to bring a Porsche to the event. It's only thing you have to pay us for is parking. There's no entry fee, unlike the Amelia Island Concours, which does have a pretty substantial entry fee for spectators. We don't charge spectators, so if you can fit 9 people in a Suburban, you're only paying one flat parking charge. There's stuff for kids to do. Jim always has sim racing set up there, which is very popular. They usually have a little live band playing. It's just a great day. People bring picnic lunches and they spend the whole day there. It's
So
usually in, yep.
say, Manny, you're like the father of Werks Reunion. So what was your favorite year? What was your favorite Werks Reunion?
I would say the first one because I was kind of nervous. I pounded my chest and said we would have 500 cars on the lawn, 500 Porsches. And I remember telling Boo Gwen, our executive director, I said, if we get 200, we can spread them out so they look like 500. And we had 525. So that told me that the idea was good and that we were onto something and that we could, as the club, because I'm biased and I would always think people are really coming to look at the Porsches, not the BMWs and Mercedes. And so I think I proved myself right when Werks became a huge hit. When Laguna Seca is calling to complain that you're taking away spectators from their Friday, then you're onto something special. So I think the first one, but every year it's just great. It's March, so it's for a lot of the people in the Mid-Atlantic where we are. It's it's just starting to get warm, and you go down there, like Jim said about the weather forecast. It's just a great time to start off the driving season.
Yeah. And then at the bottom there, it says watch for registration and eBreak News. So as I mentioned earlier, eBreak News, when you get that on Tuesday, they'll say, like Ellen was saying, parade registrations coming up or Werks Reunion registrations coming up. But as Manny said, we could fly down there and get a hotel and get a rental car and go check out all the cars. You don't have to drive. You don't have to park on the grass, but it is a lot of fun to actually participate as well, because you don't have to clean your car as much.
Yep.
Okay, so Boardwalk Reunion is up next, and it's always held the Saturday after Columbus Day, and this year it will be October 15th in 2022, and it's held in Ocean City, New Jersey. And I should explain that although it functions a little bit like a national event, because people come from last year as far away as Chicago and Ohio and St. Louis. It's really sponsored or hosted by Zones 1 and Zone 2. And we, Chesapeake and our neighbors around us, such as Potomac, we are members of our regions are grouped geographically into Zone 2. Zone 1 is New England and New York State, and Zone 2 is kind of the Mid-Atlantic states. And so both zones have kind of gathered together, and we're hosting a sort of a New England, New York, like Mid-Atlantic event that is a little bit similar in nature to Werks Reunion, but in our case, we're on the boardwalk. And so we're in Ocean City, New Jersey, and you get to actually drive your Porsche right up onto the boardwalk, which is right next to the ocean. And you can see a photo here. On the website, there are many more photos, so you can really get a sense of what it looks like. And the good news for us in Chesapeake region is that from Harford County, for example, it's only 2 hours to Ocean City, New Jersey. In fact, it's closer than it going to Ocean City, Maryland. But interestingly, it seems like New Jersey's far away, but you just go up over the Delaware Memorial Bridge and get on Route 40 and head to the Jersey Shore. So the time frame that it's held at is in early October, and the weather, you can see people are in t-shirts. We've been very lucky with the weather. It's usually in the 60s up in low 70s. So it's beautiful weather by the ocean. And you can do, so you basically, we stage in the local airport parking lot and then have a police escort for about 1.5 miles and drive the cars right up onto the boardwalk and park for the afternoon. And we typically have a little bit more than 300 cars, Porsches attend. It's a Porsche only event, but we invite everyone. It doesn't have to be PCA. You could be in the 356 registry or just have a Porsche and looking to participate and learn more about us. And so from 12 to 4, you park on the boardwalk. You can, sample the pizza, the, ice cream, the whatever you'd like, do a little shopping, walk the beach. And then of course we have a series of tech sessions in the auditorium on the music pier, which is right over, actually out over the ocean. We have technical sessions by experts in various areas. And let's see, it's relatively inexpensive at $35 per car, and you get a goodie bag for that and get to be on the boardwalk. And then in the evening, we host an optional event at the Flanders Hotel, and that's a kind of like a drinks, dinner, and dancing event, and it's a social event. Usually we have in excess of 200 people there having some fun. And so it's a one-day event. You could just drive up in the morning, park on the boards, and then drive back that evening, or you can make a one or two night weekend of it and enjoy all of the activities in the area. And so the Flanders Hotel is our host hotel. And I think I've, oh, the one thing that I should say is that this is not a judged event. It's basically like a giant cars and coffee. And so people just, meet lots of people from all over and see lots of unique cars. They're not parked by models specifically. And as you walk up and down the boards, it's a mile-long boardwalk. So you can really get your steps in and see so many different great models and colors and years of Porsches.
That's very cool. Just in the photo, you can see a Cayman, a 911 cab. You see looks like a 968. You got a GT3. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
All right,
Manny.
Treffen. So Treffen was originally called Escape a few years back, and David and Ginny O'Neill, who were the Escape chairs, and they became Treffen chairs, asked for a name change because they wanted to elevate the event. So the event was a sort of non-competitive parade event, in the sense it was 4 days, open only to Porsche. Much like Ellen described, it shifts around the country. Initially, they tried to keep it on the opposite side of wherever parade was. So the members who couldn't make it to parade had Treffen they could do, and vice versa. And it used to be one event a year, then it switched to two because of demand. The difference with parade is where parade was more family oriented, and they go for, I'm going to say, affordable housing for hotels. Treffen wanted to make it become a little bit more upscale. Those of you who have ever traveled with like the Porsche Travel Club will get an idea what Treffen is sort of like. It's usually done at a 4 or 5 star resort. They negotiate some great rates for the resort, but it's certainly not a Hampton Inn rate. But it's usually all inclusive. It's about, I'm going to say, maybe 200 cars, and it's nothing but tours. Basically, you wake up in the morning, all the Porsches meet in one place, and they get released at intervals, and you sign up for different tours, sort of like Ellen described for parades tours. It's very similar. And so whatever, gets you interesting, but the focus is on driving and learning about the area and enjoying the roads in the area. And then at the end, everyone meets back and they have a catered dinner. And during the tour, a lot of times, if it's a full day tour, they include the lunch. So you have lunch along the way. And you get to see places that I know for my wife and I, we probably would have never gone there had it not been for PCA. So that's very cool. You get to see these places that, either you've heard about or you've never heard about, and you say, wow, what a secret that we discovered because of the Porsche Club. They tend to sell out very fast. In fact, Broadmoor opened up today, and I haven't heard, Jim, but I would imagine it probably sold out on
it seems like
hour.
the average. It seems like the average is under 10 minutes, and sometimes it's within minutes.
And surprisingly, we have people who are like Treffen files who, even though they can't drive their Porsche there, still sign up and just go there and either rent a car from Turo, where you can rent some Porsches or some other neat cars, or just rent a car from a traditional rental car agency and participate in the tours. You don't have to have a Porsche to do the tours. We allow members to come and fly in. It is open only just to PCA members, unlike Werks, which is open to anyone. You do have to be a PCA member to register. But it's I think our closest one we had was Asheville, and we had one in Virginia too, and it was a blast. A lot of people in the region went. They caravan down, and it was much like Parade. You get to meet a lot of new people, and you'll probably see them again at the local or Treffen comes around in the area again.
Yeah, I got to lead 2 tours at the first Treffen when it changed from Escape to Treffen in Lake Tahoe. I got to lead 2 of the tours. I really like that. Which was your favorite, Manny, of the ones you've been to?
I think the one we went to in Asheville was pretty cool because I know Steve was on here, and I think he's the one who found out because we wanted to do the Tail of the Dragon, but that tour was sold out like immediately. Yeah. And so we had nothing booked that day, and I think it was Steve. He found from the locals that there was another road that was twice as long as Tail of the Dragon, just not as well known, and I think it was called the Rattler. But anyways, it was like 8 or 9 of us got together, and we just drove down there and did our own tour, and then we showed back up at the end to have dinner with everyone and share stories about the driving. So. From the caravan down to the drives, it was a great event.
Yeah, that Treffen is still talked about as one of the best. All right, jumping over to sim racing. This is on the list because this is actually a national program. And it actually, believe it or not, started before the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, the last couple of years, it really accelerated because it gave PCA members something to do without having to leave their home. And so some activities. But what sim racing is basically is you use your computer and a monitor of some kind and a steering wheel and pedals. And you can either use a desk chair or you can use a full, racing seat. And you sit there and you drive and you race on your computer. The way that PCA does it is we all connect to each other through the racing software, and we all race against each other. And while we're racing, we can actually talk to each other. And this has taken off where now there's hundreds of races a year that PCA hosts, and most of the races are broadcast live on YouTube. So you can actually watch, yourself race after the race, or friends and family can watch while you're racing live. And this is open to members, co-members, PCA juniors, test drive subscribers. And we've got 5 different classes now, from entry level all the way up to professional level. So there's a place for anybody. If you have interest in doing this and you've never done it before, you could be in the entry class with all the other PCA members that are new. And a lot of them start in the entry class and move their way up as they improve, or you can camp out in one of the entry level classes and just have fun racing against fellow PCA members. So PCAsimracing.com is the website. You can go to YouTube and just type in, PCA Porsche Club sim racing and watch some of the races. It's pretty entertaining activity.
All right, so something that's a little bit more expensive than sim racing, having done both of these, I can tell you, is club racing and driver's education. Club racing is actually the national event, if you will, because that's run by national. The local region will organize the race, but like the sanctioning body part of it is done by national. So we have consistency throughout the country wherever they race. It's the same rules, and it makes for great racing. It's open only to Porsches. The feeder series that gets people involved and got me involved into is our driver's education. And we have a national driver's education committee. They help set the safety rules for driver's education. But each region tends to, add their own flavor to the events. Now, driver's education, and I know Ron Farb and I talked about this, how some of PCA's names for their events really don't tell you what the event is. And so when I first heard driver's education, I thought of high school and learning how to drive a car. And I thought, well, that seems kind of silly. But actually, it should be called like a high performance driving, because you go there and you learn how to really drive your Porsche. And I'm constantly telling people, instead of doing modifications to your car, learn to drive. There's nothing better than understanding how to take a turn, understanding how your car is going to react to what you do to it when you're driving. That will make you a better driver and make you a faster driver. When you see an event though that says driver's education, that's what that is. It's just a driving school that's focused in on safety and education. It's not racing. There's passing, but it's all controlled. People give finger point buys to let you know when you can pass them safely. If you're beginning it, you have an instructor that sits in the right seat, and the instructor is all about self-preservation. So they're going to make sure that you don't hurt themselves or your car. But after you do that, after a while, some people have the urge for a competition, and that's where club racing steps in. And club racing is, I always compared it, driver's education to high school and club racing to college, because now you're all on your own and you're racing wheel to wheel. But even if you say, you know what, I don't think I want to subject my new Porsche to wheel to wheel racing, you can still come out and volunteer or come out to watch. Potomac does the closest club race at Summit Point. They run a great race there. And I know they're always asking for volunteers. You can actually go to the flagging school with SCCA and learn how to become a flagger and be right there. You can't get any closer than these guys get to flagging where the cars are feet away from you. Or you can work on the grid. They use a lot of volunteers to pull this race off. You can be part of the action and you can see all the racing wheel to wheel. But if you do decide you want to try it yourself, club racing has a full licensing system, safety system, and their licenses are recognized internationally. So it's a very legit license. So I used to tell my wife whenever I was speeding that I was licensed, and she never fell for it. But it's a lot of fun.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the volunteer aspect of that, Manny, because I enjoy the sim racing, but I think my real racing days are probably over. But going out to Summit Point and watching the club racing activities was so much fun. So I think if you want to be out there and see some cars going fast and you're not sure what it's all about, as Manny said, volunteering is absolutely a blast. So you'll see, I forgot to throw the slide up, but you'll see some absolutely amazing Porsches out there, from classic Porsche race cars up until the most modern 911 GT3Rs are out there. So it is absolutely a blast. Manny and I are going to cover Porscheplatz. So speaking of racing, so if you like racing or maybe you want to check it out, there's sports car racing across the country every year. And one of the big series out there for sports car racing is IMSA, and they have races all over North America. And you can go out to a race and you can pay your entry fee and go wander around and sit in the grandstands, or you could join one of the PCA sponsored Porscheplatz. So Porsche Cars North America puts up a giant tent at many of the IMSA races, and PCA members volunteer and help manage the tent and manage the parking. And we all go to the race and hang out together under this big tent and watch the Porsches race. And there's usually beverages, and they bring some of the race car drivers out for interviews in between some of the races. And it's just a big party to hang out and watch the race together with fellow PCA members. Anything you want to add to that, Manny?
Yeah, if you like Jim said, if you're going to one of these races, look to see if it's an IMSA race. I think 99% chance it'll have a Porscheplatz, and it's, to me, one of the perks of PCA membership. All you got to do is show your membership card, or you have a Porsche key. Show them that. Once again, if you don't have a Porsche, you can still go into the tent. You don't have to bring your Porsche to the event. If you're lucky enough to be able to drive your Porsche and you have a Porscheplatz parking ticket, that's even more cool because you get to park in a special corral area. IMSA has been doing this for a while with the car clubs, and really it's come down to Corvette and Porsche. They're the ones that battle each other for the biggest corrals, the best looking tents. And if you if you ever always wanted to go to Petit Le Mans down at Road Atlanta, you know you got a home because they had the Porscheplatz is one in probably the best location on the top of the hill right before the bridge. And people just hang out there all day for spectating. And like Jim said, Porsche will always come during the weekend to bring factory teams or factory supported teams and the drivers over. I know when Patrick Dempsey was racing, that was a big thrill for our members. Was having Patrick come out and and give a talk. And he was really he got really excited because he resisted for a long time from coming to this because he thought people were just going to ask him about Grey's Anatomy or one of the movies he was in. But instead, they all asked him about racing. And he said that was the best feeling because everywhere else he goes, he gets asked Hollywood questions. And he said the PCA members were more interested in how he was taking a certain turn, what it was like to drive at night at Le Mans, and so on. So from that point on, whenever he had the opportunity, he would always come out to say hi to the members and answer some questions. So yeah, it's a great member benefit.
Yeah, it's very cool. And we just had the Daytona 24-hour race, and there was just an absolutely massive tent and parking. And if you happen to watch the race, which 24 hours is tough to watch it all, but they actually brought a camera crew through and showed all the Porsches in the tent on national TV. So that was very cool for PCA. But yeah, it's if you go to a race, you got to, as Manny said, you got to go to the Porscheplatz, and you'll also see this on eBreak News. They'll show when the registration's up for those. Comes up for each one of those races. Let's see next.
Tech Tactics. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we have had the last Tech Tactics had to be canceled. So Tech Tactics is a 2 one-day events. They're the same events, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. We try to give fit in as many people as possible that the center will allow us. So Porsche has 2 training centers, one in Eastern Pennsylvania, and the other one near Ontario, California, in Southern California. And this is where they train all the technicians who go to the dealers. In addition, they also have a attached warehouse with all the parts. So when Tech Tactics, which was originally developed by Zone 1, above us, like as Ellen explained, they got to the point where they were ready to hand it off. They had done it for, I think, 30 some years. Pete Tremper had done most of it, I think. And so they were ready kind of to hand it off. So when National approached them and said, why don't you let us run it? They were very happy to see it. The destiny of this event would become a national event. And so at the same time, Porsche said, why don't you host it at our center? Because we have all the equipment, we have all the cutaways, and most of all, we can bring factory people in and our own teachers who teach the technicians. And so that snowballed into doing it also on the West Coast. And hopefully next year in 2023, we make it happen. We're planning something for a parade. So we also do a Tech Academy, or they call it Tech Tactics Parade. Crossing our fingers, but that something will happen maybe at that center that we can pull it off, because that center is only 33 miles from the parade location. And the people that work there love having PCA members over because, it's different teaching members and teaching technicians, where, these people basically paid to come out to learn about the latest Porsche technology. And it's simply, as the name says, it's all technical. But it's not technical where it's going to be way above your head. They just talk about the new features on certain cars. When the 992 came out, they had one of the designers come out, and he talked about how they designed the 992. And you'd be amazed for people like myself who thought they've heard everything and know everything. It was a wealth of information that we learned that we didn't know about the design process. It's I think $100 or under $100 a person, and they give you lunch and breakfast, and Porsche throws in a nice giveaway. So it's well worth the very affordable entry fee. And it's a Saturday or Sunday. They usually do it in February. We were going to do it in early March, but because of that Omicron virus, the center decided to hold it off this year. But if you're going to parade, Friday is usually Tech Academy. So remember to keep that open and come out, and either we're going to do it at the hotel or maybe we'll take a short drive down the road to the training center, which would be very cool because then you can see the gigantic warehouse of parts they have, and as well as the areas where they train. As you can see in the photo Jim has, they have a bunch of lifts, tire machines. It's like a shop where they train people. Oh,
So
I guess
Manny,
I guess you got to put a plug in, otherwise Vu will reprimand
oh no,
me.
let me ask. So you guys have done a fantastic job with this. So since Tech Tactics wasn't happening, you guys decided to make lemonade out of lemons, and you created Tech Tactics Live. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was like Vu Nguyen, I think's idea, our executive director, and yeah, of course, during the pandemic, we were trying to keep our members still engaged. So they started doing basically single Tech Tactics sessions on YouTube live. And of course, once it's been it's shown live, then it stays for eternity. You can watch it over and over again. And it was the same thing, technically related. And so now I've assumed that producer's role, and I take care of coming up with the ideas and bringing the guests on. And it's sometimes really surprises me. We did a couple weeks ago, we did a show on fuel. And honestly, I did not think that many people would watch a show about gas. But wow, we kept almost 400 people, their attention for one full hour. The guest was Lake Speed Jr. He works for Total Seal. They make piston rings. And he's very passionate about fuel. And he did a hell of a job keeping everyone's attention for that full hour. But there's topics like our next one's going to be about the Porsche market. What's going on with the auctions at the beginning of the year. Nathan Mers, who's our valuation expert on the tech committee, he's a very popular guest. He'll be on and talk about what he saw in Scottsdale and the other auctions that occurred at the beginning of the year. The valuation ones are always our most popular because obviously people are very interested in the value of their cars.
Well, thanks for letting me throw my my lemonade.
There you go. Thank you.
My teeing you up for that, because I knew you were going to talk about that. But what's cool about Tech Tactics Lives, if you think about it, how many people have watched those videos? It is way more than what you can pack into those
Yep.
Porsche warehouses. So it's opened up that tech world to a lot more people that maybe wouldn't have gone to one of those tech tactics events. So Manny and I will tag team this one also. So, we have a lot of events that tend to feature our Porsches more stock Porsches more as they come out of the factory, and there's quite a large culture of Porsche owners out there that like to tweak their cars or modify their cars, or like Manny did, create a race car out of it when he went club racing. There's a lot of people that like to modify their cars. So this last year was the first for a brand new event, a brand new PCA National event called unStock, and it was created to celebrate modified Porsches. And we had the first event down in Huntington Beach, California, and we had I think it was just over 100, like 101 modified Porsches. And you could tell by the picture that it was in a kind of an industrial complex. It was at Gunther Werks headquarters there in Huntington Beach, and we had crazy modified Porsches, 4-doors, Safari 911s, and then of course 356s, 911s, everything under the sun. And it was literally under the sun. It was an amazing event that brought people from all over Southern California to check it out. And so popular that we're having another one later this year, and we're ramping up for that. But Manny, out of all those outlandish cars, what was your favorite?
Oh boy, you got me. My favorite one was it was actually a factory modified car. And I think you have a picture of it in your lower left-hand corner of this Cayenne. So Porsche, I'd never seen one. And once again, much like Jim, we go to all these events and you've been to the factory and everything, you think you've seen everything. I've seen the street version that Porsche built. Like some people call it a pumpkin car, a Halloween car, because it's black with orange wheels. And it celebrated Porsche's victory at the Trans-Siberia Rally. And I've seen plenty of those cars. I had never seen a car that actually, the factory car that raced in the Trans-Siberian Rally. So this woman came up and she was towing the Trans-Siberia car with the Trans-Siberia. And we thought that was the coolest thing. Unfortunately, we only had room for one car. So she unloaded the race car. And it was amazing to see it. Here's a Cayenne, a four-door SUV that Porsche completely converted to a race car with a roll cage, race equipment, race seats. It was that made my day. But it was we had everything from electric cars, vintage Porsche that were converted electric, to monstrosities that you just had to admire the engineering and home engineering that people did to these cars. But what was cool for me was I was working the front gate, and almost, if you can imagine, like a bouncer working the front door at some exclusive Manhattan nightclub, and I had to turn away 3 GT2 RSs because they weren't modified. They were all stock. I mean, they were expensive, rare cars, but they couldn't come in because this was just for modified. So the kid with the modified 944 got in, but the guys with the GT2 RS had to park on the street and come in. But much like our other national events, it was a focus not just on parking cars and putting them on display, but they arranged to have a band there, tours of Gunther Werks. So they make it into almost like an all-day type of event. So it's enjoyable for the whole family. It's not just a bunch of guys. It's men, women, children, all had a good time at that event. And the DJ was great. And they had 3 food trucks. So it was a great atmosphere. And the people's comments, said that we were onto something. And we're like Jim said, we're going to do it again in 2022. And it's hopefully it'll expand to other parts of the country as well.
Yeah, and hopefully there's no Ferrari enthusiasts on this call, because I'll get in trouble. But to kind of echo what Manny was saying, it's our national events are a lot of fun, and it's like one big family. I got to go to a Ferrari event just to kind of check it out, and I was just blown away how everybody walked around their little groups and hardly anybody engaged each other. People didn't really talk much at the Ferrari show that I went to anyway. And you go to one of our PCA events and everybody's talking and meeting each other and talking about their cars, and it's just a lot of fun. It's not just parking a car and standing there, and looking at it. Everybody just has a great time together and talks and meets each other. And next thing you know, you'll see somebody that you met in Los Angeles at, Werks Reunion, Amelia Island. It's just a small world for Porsche enthusiasts. And speaking of fun and meeting people, so one of the national events we wanted to talk about is in our region, which is actually pretty cool. So the Porsche Club of America has a national office and a small staff in Columbia, Maryland. So as I mentioned earlier, there's 147 regions, and we just happen to be lucky enough that our region has the national office. So as you can probably imagine, we all send in our membership dues once a year, either in a check, through the mail or online, make the payment. All that's got to go somewhere, and we need a secure place to do those transactions. So we have a small office, but that small office is just absolutely full of cool Porsche stuff. Vu Nguyen, Manny mentioned, he does not turn down something. If Porsche says, here's a really cool blueprint of the Weissach R&D facility, we don't need this anymore. Do you want it? Vu will grab it. And that office is literally a museum of Porsche artifacts and PCA artifacts, from trophies from early parades, license plate frames from the first parade. It's just a bunch of cool stuff. And some years ago, Vu started the tradition of having an open house each fall. And there's music and food, and of course a lot of Porsches on display. So I highly recommend, if you haven't gone to one of these, go this fall. Keep an eye on eBrake News, because there'll be the registration, and sign up and bring your Porsche out, because it's not a long drive, and we park them all over. There's a photo, kind of give you an idea. So we park all the cars in the cul-de-sac area and along around the building, and there's tours of the office. And as I mentioned, music and food. It's just an absolute blast for a few hours, and you'll see a lot of local Potomac and Chesapeake region members because we're all close, and it's a lot of fun. But Manny, you've been to many of those, if not all of them. What did you think?
Well, like you said, we're lucky that we live where the national office is, because a lot of people only see it on Tech Tactics Live, the little studio we do, or even the people from Chesapeake. I've heard, when they did the tour of the office. I know you and I go there every day when it's open, but they said, this is really cool being in the place where they filmed Tech Tactics Live. And to us, it's just the garage with the lift. But you've never been to the office. That's a pretty cool thing to see. It's also cool because this is where we give away a bunch of stuff, usually leftover door prizes that we never were able to give away during the year and other shows, stuff that we just want to clear the office out, because Jim's being very nice, but our executive director, Boo, is a little bit of a hoarder. And
You can say that.
The day when he's off is when we clear out all the stuff we're going to give away, so we have more room, because there's only a certain amount of room in that office to store stuff. So usually it's not even like door prizes. We put it on a shelf and say, or a box or a table, and say, one per member, but take what you want. It's a great event in the fall. And I think, Jim, did we have 500 people or 400 people last year, or in 21? It was
there's Porsches everywhere.
Yeah,
it's Porsches everywhere, but there's still room for more because we're right next to 2 hotels. So even if you got a long drive, you could drive down and stay at one of the hotels, which is right next to the building. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Have you gone to one of those, Ellen?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, several, actually many open houses, and they're all very fun, and you get to meet so many new people and different things all the time. And there's always great deals at the tent for swag and items, Porsche items. And in fact, on occasion, they even have a swap meet where people sell parts. And so there's all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, it's a good time. So we were trying to keep this to an hour, and I think we're right there. So kind of in closing, well, first, thanks Ellen and Manny and Ron specifically. This was really Ron Farb's idea, and thanks for letting Ellen and Manny and I join and kind of share some of this. So I guess kind of in closing, for someone that's been in the club, I've known of PCA and been to PCA events since I was 11 years old. And, a lot of us really find our way into the club through the local region and the region activities. And those are amazing. So we don't want to take anything away from the local events. Those are the bread and butter of PCA. And we have a lot of fun with the local events and all of our local friends. That's really the important part of PCA. But we were just hoping tonight to bring a little bit of some of this national, at least bring it up to everybody so that you're aware of it. And hopefully it might pique your interest. And as you're, doing some of the local stuff, maybe you meet some friends that you want to, travel to some of these events, or you maybe, come to a national event or open house or a Porscheplatz. And so we're just hoping that maybe this will help make everybody aware of some of the other aspects of the club. And kind of to finish this up, the most important part at the end here is, if you have any questions, please email Ron. He's made himself available to receive emails on questions if you want to know more about some of those events. And then Ron can help connect you to whoever that might be. It might be one of us on this call, or it could be others in the club. There's a lot of folks nationally that help put on those big national events. So if you want to know more about Parade or Treffen, there's national chairs that actually put those events on, volunteer positions. And Ron can help connect you to all of that, and to those folks. But thank you so much for joining.
Yep, Jim, let me just add. So first of all, Jim, Manny, Ellen, thank you. That really was fantastic. It's one thing to go onto a web page and try to read about an event, but it's another to really listen to about an event and hear what it is. And you all did a fantastic job. So thank you. New members on here, probably members who have been here a while. Right. I mean, Chesapeake is great. We're going to have a bazillion events this year. but you owe it to yourself. Try to do a national event. Maybe you won't do 5 a year, but every year or so, try to hit something, or at least the open house, right? Your membership pays for this type of stuff, and these are great events. So we will see other people at Chesapeake events, and hopefully I'll see a bunch of you up at Parade as well. So everyone, thank you for joining tonight. And contact
Ron.
me if you have any questions.